All right. Hey, what's up, guys? If anybody out there, sorry I'm late. I am having some connection issues. Thunderstorms here in Jacksonville. So, having some internet issues, some power outages. So, hopefully, it's all past us and through us. And I can keep my connection to the internet as long as the power doesn't go out again. But again, sorry. Sorry I started this late, but having some power issues, thunderstorms rolling through. So, uh, apologize. Hope everybody's doing all right. I know it's been a while since we've been on, um, and just figured I'd jump on and talk about what everybody's doing in the summer. What plans you got? What are you doing? What is your program doing? We're actually going to 7-on-7 tomorrow, which is always interesting. So we're going to Florida State, traveling to Tallahassee tomorrow to do 7-on-7 tournament, which I'll talk a little bit about tonight. With kind of where I feel with 7-on-7, what we're trying to do, how we're trying to do it. But it's been, we've had spring football since the last time we've been on YouTube Live. Been a little while. So just kind of trying to check in with everybody, see where everybody's at, see what's new in the football world, what everybody's doing, what are they trying, what are they playing. We played all the same stuff. In the spring, we played tight front, we played three high. Biggest right now, what I'm trying to work through for us is how we can play four down and three high behind it. So I've done some videos on it talking about what I think the issues are, what I think our issues are, what we're trying to do, trying to stay three high as long as we can. And the reason being is our motion adjustments start to change. So one of the first things I did last year was I thought that we could go from our odd front, tight, three high stuff and bring a fourth lineman in and go back to 4-2-5 stuff. And it's still split field coverages. Coverages stayed the same. But what started happening was motion adjustments were a little bit different. So when we're three high, one of our simplest motion adjustments is if we get flat motion across or any change of strength motion, we rotate to three deep. And we do it by rolling both safeties down. So when we went to two high with our four down stuff, what started happening was the motion adjustments were different. So tried to figure out a way where we could play four down because I still believe that if you're an odd front team, you need to carry an even front, right? So if we're a tight three high team, everybody schemes tight three high. Everybody schemes tight front. Everybody game plans their beaters for tight front. Everybody figures out how they're trying to block the middle safety if he's in a run fit. So I knew we had to go to even front. Most of the time when you watch college football, NFL football, it's usually a passing down thing, right? So if you're a base 3-4 team or if you're a base odd team, your passing down defenses are normally even because it's a different protection possibly for the offense, right? If you're a base four down team, then your passing down stuff is usually odd and your packages kind of vary themselves that way because you're always trying to mess with the protection of the offense, right? Especially in passing down. So most of the time, odd teams go to even teams go to odd. For us in the tight front, the one thing that I learned right away was a lot of people like to game plan tight front. They like to game plan runs that they like versus tight front. We see a lot of tackle pull schemes. So teams will run power and they'll leave the guard to block back on the four eyes so they can double the nose and they'll pull the tackle, right? So we'll see a lot of C-gap runs. We'll see a lot of pin pull. So when teams know that you're tight front, they constantly are working game plans to beat tight front. So, just sending a fourth from tight front is okay. But I felt like if we could be even and odd, if we could be tight and over, I felt like that gave offensive coordinators and especially high school kids playing O-line, I felt like that gave them a lot to look at, and that's what we wanted to do. My first thought was because we've been a 4-2-5 team before, it would be real easy to go to 4-2-5 stuff. Then I figured out that motion adjustments became a little bit of an issue. So now in year two at the current school that I'm at, what we are doing is we are trying to progress to where we can play 4 down from 3 high. And we tried it in the spring a little bit, had a few issues here or there, some things that we need to work around. The debate now is, if we play base over front, there's two open gaps. There's a B gap and there's an A gap. When we play 3 high at a tight front, normally what we're doing is we're canceling both A gaps with the nose and a backer, and then we're pushing everything out to the C gaps. So, there's really, when you're playing tight front based off how you're playing the nose, there's really only one open A gap that you got to cancel. And then the B gaps are always canceled, and then everything works its way out, C gap and wider, right? Well, when you go to over front, you've got an open A gap and you've got an open B gap. So now when you're playing 3 high, you either have to have your middle safety responsible for the A gap, which I don't really love. If you get runs to the weak side because you're 4 down and not 3 down, you lose that backside A gap player. So the middle safety needs to become that guy. Front side runs are not really an issue at the middle safety. He's going to be a C gap player running the alley anyways. And the will is on the backside to close some things out. But runs that go weak side, so like weak side ISO or anything that goes away from the middle safety, technically that A gap is going to be open now in the over front. So a couple things that we've looked at. We could stunt that side out and cancel the A and the B gap all the time. But once you put film in place and you've played 3, 4, 5 games, if every time you're in over, if you're stunning to cancel those gaps out, then everybody's going to know that when you go over, you're stunning to cancel gaps out, right? Another thing that I've looked at is potentially canceling gaps to where we only leave one gap open. So maybe we play with a 2 and a 4 on one side and a 3 and a 5 to the other side, and there's only one A gap open that you can plug with a linebacker. But then you might have to change how you fit that linebacker. So the struggle for us right now is, how do we get to 4 down from tight front? We're going to play mint front, which technically I guess you can consider 4 down, but you're still playing tight front with a fourth rusher weak. So I don't feel like that's a big enough change for us. So I feel like we need to be able to play 4 down. We need to be able to play even fronts. Now, the question that I asked my head coach, who's an offensive guy, and I asked that, our offensive line coach, if we played 4 down and we played with a 2 and a 4 on one side and a 3 and a 5 to the other, is that any different? How much different is that than tight front? Does that make you game plan even front, even though we're not playing traditional over? So to me, if I played the 2 and the 4 to the side of the middle safety, to the what we call the passing strength, and I cancel the inside gaps to the side of the middle safety, now if he gets runs to him, he can run the alley like he always does. If he gets runs away, it's the same fit for him because the backside A gap is closed. If we do that, is that a good enough changeup from tight front? So I'm always asking O-line coaches, if you had a 2 and a 4 and you had a 3 and a 5, would you treat that as 4 down? Would you block it different than tight front? And if we feel like that is a good enough changeup, then that's probably the way we're going to progress. I would rather play a 2 and a 4 as opposed to stunting every down. Right now, that's kind of the thought process of where I'm leaning, as opposed to moving every down. But my head coach, who's our offensive coordinator, and my O-line coach, they tell me that when they see 4 down with a ton of movement, that creates a pretty big issue. So the conundrum for us right now, as far as our overall summer work off the spring install to the fall, is what are we going to do with our 4 down? Our base defense is what it is. We're tight front. We're 3 high. We're not changing. It fits our kids. It fits our program. We won 8 games last year with it, won the district championship with it. So we're not changing our base defense. That's not going to happen. But to me, in all my experiences of being coordinator, head coach, calling both sides of the ball, I think once you get your base set in stone, you need to know what your changeup is, because you're only as good as your other answer. Now, if you're at a place, and I've played against places like this in Florida, if you're at a place that can play four down and you can play it every down, and whether they know it or not, they've got to block a couple movements and a couple blitzes. But your base defense, you think of like Jimmy Johnson at Miami when they were, 4-3 cover two predominantly most of the time, and they almost never sent a fifth rusher. If you are that good in your base, then I don't think you have to worry about your changeup as much. For me, with the school that I'm at, our base defense is pretty good, but we always need a changeup or something else, because if we stay in our base long enough, people are going to game plan us, and we're going to play teams that are every bit as talented, if not more so, teams that are way bigger than us up front. So if we stay with our tight base stuff, eventually game plans are going to kick in. So I'm always thinking about the changeup. I'm always thinking about what's next. So, from the grand scheme of things with where we're at, what we're doing in the summer, that's going to be the big plan. Now, like I said earlier, we're going to 7-on-7 tomorrow. 7-on-7 for us creates a little bit of an issue, and here's why. Our base coverages are split field, and we don't include the mic. So our base coverages are all 7-man theories. So when we go to 7-on-7, all of our base stuff is fine. The problem we have is our 3-deep stuff, and I've done videos on this. I've mentioned it before. Our 3-deep stuff is all drop 8. And the way we teach it is spot drop 8. We don't carry rip Liz match. We don't pattern match when we play 3-deep. So as soon as you go to 7-on-7 and I take my 8 dropper out of the equation, all of our 3-deep stuff kind of goes out the window, because we would give up a million completions if our guys played 3-deep the way we teach it currently. And the way we teach it currently is from a drop 8 schematic, a drop 8 standpoint. So, yeah, Philly, I agree 100%. I've mentioned this several times. I was not a big sim creeper guy. I didn't think it had a ton of value in the high school world. I didn't think there were enough protections that you could attack. I didn't think there were enough third down scenarios that you could attack. And then the first game that we lost last year, we were 6-0, and we were winning the game 6-3 at halftime, and we ended up losing 32-31 on basically next to last play of the game. Team scored. They went for 2 with 2 seconds left, got it, beat us by 1 point. That was our first loss. And we had a couple of third downs that we couldn't get off the field. And that right there was enough for me to start investigating sims, creepers. I thought, the way I look at things, I thought sims and creepers were more a college NFL deal. You're trying to attack pass protections. What the passing downs are in major D1, college ball, NFL ball. I was so worried that 3rd and 5 in high school was still a rundown, that I didn't really see the value in doing it. But I learned the hard way. We lost the game, our first game of the year. I eventually got to a point where I put some things in that were sim creeper value, and I'll continue to do so in the future. I'm not going to make a living off of it. I'm not going down a rabbit hole of exotic sims and creepers, just because I don't feel like we, at least in my experience, 25, 26 years of high school football, I don't feel like there's enough scenarios for us to spend a ton of time building those things in. I still think there's a ton of rundowns on third down in high school. So I always worry about run fits and what we're doing on third down. So, but I had to build some in. I got burnt. You learn from being scarred. You learn the hard way from being scarred and losing a game, which actually helped us in the long run. But that was part of the deal. So getting back to my original point with 7-on-7 stuff, we can't carry any of our 3-deep stuff in 7-on-7 because I don't teach it to be played with 7 players. I teach it to be played with 8 players. We push the mic to the strong side hook and we spot drop. So we've got a to the passing strength, we've got a flat player, a curl player, and a hook player. We've got every underneath zone covered because we're dropping 8. So as soon as we go to 7-on-7, that's kind of out of the equation. So, one of the things we had to do, and we had a ton of rain this morning, couldn't get out on the field, so I had to do it in a meeting to get ready for tomorrow. But I had to kind of explain to our guys, all right, listen, guys, here's what we need to do in 7-on-7, and here's why. Um, so I kind of had to go through it with our guys and say, hey, look, when we don't have the mic, we can't play 3 deep. We've got to play all of our base stuff. And then we always carry man cut. So we're not a big 2-man team. The biggest pet peeve I have with 7-on-7 is you're going to see man under 2 deep 90% of the time. And, my question to people that I know that I'm friendly with is, you don't play very many snaps during the year in man under 2 deep. Why would you waste your time doing that? And the reasoning behind it is you're in a 7-on-7 tournament. You're trying to compete, right? So you're trying to do all the things on offense and defense that equate to 7-on-7. So, we'll have some of those things built in. But in our base plan in the fall, man under 2 deep is not really that big of a deal for us. We have man under, what I would call 11 robber, old school Nebraska, where we play low hole rat, high hole rat with man coverage, right? So that's always been what I've called in my terminology. I learned it in the early 90s as 11 robber. I know robber for everybody else is different now. So we carry that. And I told our kids in a meeting today, it will be used tomorrow. Because I want you to be competitive in a 7-on-7. We're driving 2.5 hours to Tallahassee. We have to have answers to compete. But I also explained to our kids that it's not really a big part of our identity. And here's the reason why: run fits, how we're fitting runs, what we're trying to do. Several third downs in high school are not passing down. So, we've got the ability to play man under 2 deep. We've got the ability to play man under low hole, high hole. We've got the ability to play man with our skills and underneath cut players with our Mike and our Will, Sam and the Will, and 7-on-7. It gives us a chance to play man. It gives us a chance to have underneath vision and break players so we can play mesh and we can play crossing routes. Those are all things that we carry, but we don't major in them. So, when you're this early in the summer, so for us, this is only the second week of our summer program. We're coming off spring ball, a little bit over a month ago or whatever. We played our game May 24th or 25th. So maybe a month ago, just a month ago. So, we're coming out of all of our base theories. We're coming out of all of our base structures. We don't have a ton of time to prepare, but the 7-on-7 world, if you're going to live in it and play in tournaments, on both sides of the ball, you had better carry some 7-on-7 answers, simply because you want your kids to experience good things. You want your kids to be able to compete. We will always, and I've done this forever, and I still will. You've got to have some real hard, fast conversations with your kids to say, all right, listen, we're playing our base defense. And a lot of these other teams are not going to play their base defense. They're going to play man under 2 deep. And they're going to run a bunch of 5 wide, and they're going to be empty, and they're going to run the tailback vertical. All things that I challenge you to go back and watch on film and tell me how many times you see that. So I can tell you right now, we saw tailback vertical down the middle of the field last year in 600 and some odd snaps. We saw tailback down the middle of the field twice in 600 snaps. 7-on-7 tomorrow, I will see tailback down the middle of the field 30 times, guaranteed. We saw empty less than 5% of the snaps that we played last year. We will see empty in 7-on-7 tomorrow 20% of the snaps, if not more than that. So to me, if you're living in the 7-on-7 world and you're going to tournaments or you're playing teams 7-on-7, you can never depreciate the value of your kids playing football. You can never depreciate the value of your kids being in space, breaking on footballs, your offensive guys running route, your quarterbacks getting timing with receivers. It's a necessary evil to me that absolutely needs to happen if you want to have the best program possible. I think you need the right people in place in your coaching staff to approach 7-on-7 the proper way to say, look, this is what we do on offense. This is who we are. Our kids need to understand that. Now, can we have some things drawn up to win 7-on-7 scenarios? Certainly. You can get in a huddle and hold a card up. You can do whatever you want. That's the beauty of 7-on-7. Will we play man under two deep? We certainly will. Just because I think you need to put your kids in a position to be successful. But, in reality, I guarantee you, if, depending on what part of the country you're in or depending on where you're at, I guarantee you, if you go back and study your film, I guarantee you that you will find that you got tailback vertical not very often. You got empty not very often. 3rd and 5 or less, if you watch your film, I'd almost guarantee you that 3rd and 5 or less becomes a rundown. So, you kind of walk this really thin line of 7-on-7. We need it. We want to have it. We want to go to tournaments. We get a chance to go to Florida State tomorrow. They set up a tour for the kids after the tournament. They get to see the facility. So, it, excuse me, it's an absolute necessity. You need to do it. I understand why we do it. Good thing for me now is I'm just an assistant coach. I'm a defensive coordinator. I don't have to worry about wherever the head coach says go. That's where we're going. That's what we're doing. But my job as the defensive coordinator is also to have some answers, because if we're going to go compete tomorrow, head coach is going to want to compete. We've got to have some answers built in. Now, the thing that I do like is you cannot replicate the number of opportunities that your kids get to play man coverage. Man coverage is not easy. It's a skill. It's a technique. Whether you're playing, inch back motor man jam the way we do, whether you're trying to aggressively jam at the line, whether you're playing catch man, off man to man is a technique that everybody probably carries in their defensive repertoire. So the amount of reps that you're going to get playing man to man with no run fits, you cannot replace that. So, there are so many good things about 7-on-7, but I think you just have to approach it with the right mindset to understand, what am I trying to accomplish? What do I want my kids to get out of this? What do we want to get out of it as a program? And, enter the 7-on-7 with that mindset and not get frustrated. Now, we're all competitive. Competitive juices start flowing. I'm probably going to end up calling more man stuff than I would in a normal setting. In our normal setting, if we were in a game plan for a regular season game, we are going to play man probably less than 10% of the time. Short yardage, goal line. Yes, we have some zero pressures, but we zone pressure more. We hot pressure more. We do way more things to take care of run fits and eyes on the backfield, QB, vision and break. We do way more of those things than we do man pressure. And that's only because of experience. I've been doing this a long time. I've been burnt. I've lost a ton of games. I've won some big games. So, experience tells me that zero man at the program that I'm at and the programs I've been at is really not who we are. So, slippery slope, summer, we're only 2 weeks in, so I'm not that banged up about it because this happened at the perfect time. It's really the perfect time for us to go to a 7-on-7 because we haven't even, mid last 3 weeks of July is really when we're going to start gearing towards, all right, here's the fall install. Here's what we need in, before we get to fall camp so that we can be on schedule to get ready for our first opponent or whoever it may be. So I'm really happy with the timing of it. I'm happy with, we went to the tournament last year. It's really well run. Got a ton of rain today. I don't know how much rain they got in Tallahassee, but I'm not sure what the fields are going to be like. So the fields could be a little bit beat up, but great experience for the kids. Great experience for everybody. Coaches get to 4 or 5 of us will go tomorrow. Coaches get to be there. So really an awesome, awesome setting. But with that being said, I did a video that I talked about this morning. I think as a defensive guy, if you were playing 7-on-7s or if you were doing things with your own team in the summer, I've done this before and it's a very interesting study. If you carry spot drop and you carry pattern match like we do, you can go through in either 7-on-7 or you can go through in your own individual practices and chart the results. And here's what I found. When we play pattern match and we play it correctly, there are smaller windows, tighter throws for the quarterback, better coverage opportunities for us. When we bust our pattern match coverages, we give up big plays. When we work on our spot drop stuff in the summer, or if we use we'll never use our our 3 deep spot drop stuff in 7-on-7 because it's drop 8 for us. My head coach lets me drop 8 in practice because he knows that's who we are. When we drop 8 and spot drop, we give up more completions, but we give up less big plays. And when you think about it, you're giving up more completions in a 7-on-7 setting, no pass rush, no hands in the quarterback's face, perfect scenario for the quarterback to throw the ball. We give up more completions, but we give up less busts, less big plays when we spot drop. And that study that I did a couple of years ago is what led me to playing spot drop 8 coverage, because I realized that when we play that in the summer, we give up more completions. But when we play it in the fall, it's not as easy to throw the ball into drop 8 when you have pass protection issues. You got to worry about they don't know we're rushing 3, dropping 8, right? If you're doing it the right way, we could be sending a 4th, we could be sending 5. We close the middle of the field, which is something if you're a split field coverage team, you have to do. Our middle safety goes from being a hard down run fitter to a post safety, something you need to do if you're going to play 3 high. So, for us, I've done the study, I've done the research. It can get frustrating to play spot drop in 7-on-7 because you will give up a ton of completions. You won't give up as many balls over the top. When we play our pattern match, which we're going to play everywhere we go because that's what we do, we're split field pattern match. When we play that theory, when we play it right, we give up less completions. But when we bust it, so, if we're playing 2 read and the corner and the safety aren't on the same page and we bust it, we give up a ton more big plays. So, interesting theory, interesting study, interesting thing to look at, between spot drop and pattern match. I am still contemplating putting in rip Liz match while dropping 8. I've mentioned this on some videos before. I think in the drop 8 world, you could play rip Liz match and not have to teach the hook curl players to be the robot technique, or however you want to look at it. I think you have a middle hook player that you could pass all your shallow crossers to. I don't think you have to follow the exact rip Liz match rules, but what you can do is you can carry verticals with your safeties or your Sam linebacker, whoever it may be, your star, nickel, and you can match 2 to the flat. If we were to do that, I think we would get the tighter throwing windows that we may be looking for, like we get in our pattern match. I don't know if it's too much to ask of our kids to play a rip Liz pattern match and a quarters based pattern match. They're not the same. So that's one of the things that I've always kind of looked at, kind of thought about. Rip Liz match from a drop 8. I actually saw somebody do it in college, and it was very interesting to me. I think it fits us a lot better. We could teach hook curl guys to be hook curl guys. We don't have to teach them the robot technique if they get shallow or under, and we don't have to, we don't really have to teach them how to find the dig coming from the other side. All those great things that you got to teach if you're playing rip Liz match. I think it gives us the ability to carry verticals, make the seam throws tougher. Obviously, that's why you would play rip Liz match. It turns into 1 free if you get seam routes. The push motion stuff, running back into flat, turn it straight into spot drop and get a curl flat player. That is pretty simplistic, but having the middle hole guy that can play and kind of collect a lot of the things that you would have to really work on with the quote unquote robot technique. Um, I've never been a big Ripley's match guy. Never really played a ton of it. I've researched it. I've looked at it. I've never really played it a ton, but I am interested in. It may not be this year, but at some point I am going to try it as opposed to spot drop 3D, and I'm going to see if our kids can play it. Do we get the best of both worlds from our regular pattern match and then Ripley's match? Do we get tighter throwing windows? Can we carry it with four down? I would like to carry it because I think if you go four down, um, I think that's a really good coverage to play with your four down stuff. And the way we play our three high, I think it blends right in. We have two safeties automatically. So we're never going to have to worry about a Sam or a Will carrying two vertical. It's always going to be a safety. From our three high look to go to post safety defense, I think it's the natural progression for us. I think it's something that we do now in our spot drop. But I think it's something that is a natural progression for how we want to play. And again, for me as a defensive coordinator, 100% always going to be my thought process. What is our progression? What do we play? What do we teach day one? What do we play to protect what we play? How do we protect what we do? So that's always going to be my thought process. That's going to be what I'm thinking about. So, you know, for you guys out there, whatever your base is, it doesn't matter what it is. You could be a 4-2-5 team, you could be a 4-3 team, you could be a 3-4 team. Doesn't really matter what your base is. Your base is where you're going to spend all your time and effort. You're going to make sure that you can line up and play everything in your base, and then you're going to work on your changeup. So, my advice to defensive coordinators, younger coaches, is always know what your progression is of where you're going from your base, right? Always know what your answer is. Always know what the next thing is that you're trying to get to. Now, with that being said, another thing we spend a ton of time on, we do a ton of non-contact tackling drills, and we work on getting into position to make a tackle, near foot, near shoulder, shoulder contact, neutral neck. We are an Atavis team. We have the Tacklealytics with Atavis, so they send us a lot of data on the drills we should be doing, how we should be doing those drills. So there's a bunch of drills in their library that we can do. We just did them this morning in the wrestling room because we can't get outside. You don't need a hand shield. You don't need a bag. If you have rules in your state about bags, contact, hand shields, there doesn't need to be contact involved. There doesn't need to be hand shields. All you need is your players understanding how we're going to get into position, how we're working on near foot, near shoulder, how to keep our head behind, how to play with a neutral neck, what we need to do with our eyes. Those are things that we work on in the summer constantly. We're constantly working on two-man vice drills, constantly working on leverage with your partner. Where do you want to send the ball? What is your near foot, near shoulder? What is your partner's near foot, near shoulder? How can two guys aggressively attack a ball carrier with their head behind so that they can play 100 miles an hour without having to worry about head and neck injuries? Now, can you eliminate it in football? No. But the way we teach it, the way we rep it, the way we work things in the weight room, we spend a ton of time in the summer doing those drills. And, it's good for me because our head coach buys into it. He is the driving force behind it. If you're at a place where you're the defensive coordinator, you've got to sell it to your head coach to say, hey, look, maybe 15 less minutes of half line full scale and give us 15 minutes to work on these tackling drills that we can do without pads. Give us 15 minutes to work on tracking. Give us 15 minutes to work on near foot, near shoulder. And, what's going to happen is in the summer, like I said, you're always going to kind of digress or revert to 7-on-7 skeleton, right? Especially when you have time, it's like, all right, let's throw. And there's nothing wrong with that. Don't get me wrong. I'm not against that. But in the summer, and this is from 24 years as a head coach and year and a half as just an assistant defensive coordinator, you really need to be designing your program to get in a ton of indie work, to get in a ton of technique work, and to get in, on defense at least, a ton of tackling work where you are working on positions, fundamentals, what's the right body position, Where do we need to be with our ankles, knees, and hips? What does our neck need to be doing? How do we need to be looking through our eyebrows? What does neutral neck mean? What does head behind mean? What does near foot, near shoulder mean? Those are all the things that I think you have to spend a ton of time on, um, while you have the time to do it. It's always going to be nice to go back and say, hey, let's do half line, let's do palms drill, let's do re drills. It's always going to be nice for the offenses to say, hey, let's run routes, let's work top of the route, let's work. Easy to do in the summer. Um, Obviously, you're going to need to do that stuff. But if you can find a way to interject into your program some skill work, and it all depends on the state you're in. Some states let you do more, some states let you do less. We really can't be out there now. Our O line will work on garbage cans. They'll work on fronts and assignments through garbage cans. We don't really block anything versus full looks. Defensively, we may do formation rec and line up the formations, but we're not working, you know, our D line will work block rec visually. They'll work some hand placement, but we don't bring a ton of bags out. We don't work on hand shields in the summer. We don't do a ton of that stuff. We try to focus on techniques, fundamentals, eyes, stance, start. You can always train a D lineman to have his eyes right and react to a down block. You can always train him to react to a reach block. You can always train him to react to a pass set, a pull. You can always work zone read stuff with how you're playing option game and have an end off a down block or a zone away, squeeze and chase a dive player. You can always work on your backers, on their fits and their rock back fits. You don't need to be live to do those things. So, to me, when you're in the summer, those are the things you need to be putting into your plan. You need to be, working those things into your plan. The thing that I would be interested in is the guys that are on here listening, where do you coach? What are you allowed to do in the summer? What can you get away with? Can you block hand shields? Can you tackle donuts or rings or, what things can you do? Yeah, three deep, five under with double cloud cornerbacks and three safeties. Yes, we play double cloud as one of our three deeps. So two versions we carry Philly. We carry double buzz or double safety rotation. Middle safety plays the post, and the corners play the outside third. And then we also carry Tampa. For us, our version of Tampa is double cloud, hard jam, funnel corners, safeties off the outside third, middle safety plays the inside third. So for us, when we play our version of Tampa, the middle safety becomes the pole runner, three vertical guy, however you want to look at it. But I actually teach it as part of our three deep package. So our drop eight, three deep stuff is double cloud, double sky. We never play double buzz with Sam and Will outside, safeties inside. We never do that. We will play buzz to the Sam side, buzz to the field with cloud support or sky support to the boundary in our three deep stuff. But we carry a bunch of different rotations just to make it different for the offense. Double cloud is one, double sky is one, buzz to the field, sky to the boundary, buzz to the field, cloud to the boundary. Those are our, mainly our three deep rotations, what we do, how we do it. So, that's just what we do in our drop eight. So, again, you've got to know what you're doing. You got to know what you're trying to get out of it. I had to have a meeting with our kids and tell them why we're going to play what we play tomorrow, why we're not going to play what we play. I think part of the teaching process with your kids is they need to understand, the hows, the whys of what you do. We're taking Mike linebackers with us tomorrow that have to play Will linebacker, so they need to understand how to be in coverage. For us in 7-on-7, if you're a 2x2, you're going to see the Sam and the Will walk. You're going to see the middle safety playing the way he does. And, a lot of teams will bitch and go, oh, well, how are you going to play with nobody in the box? Well, our middle safeties are run fitter. If you were a 2x2 against us, we would be in a 3-1 box. That's what we would be in. When we go 7-on-7, it becomes a 4-0 box. We don't have down linemen, obviously, so there's no 4 down, but there's nobody in the box. Our middle safety is the guy that is actually the run fitter in the box, fitting off of what the back would do. So if we were 4 down and you gave us 2x2, we would play a 4-0 box. That's what we would do. We play a 3-1 box when we're in tight. So, people will bitch about that in 7-on-7, and they'll say, hey, well, we would just run the ball. There's nobody in the box. Well, if you played us before and you watched us play last year and win 8 games doing it, you would know that in 2x2, we're a 3-1 box. So go ahead and run at it if you want. You would know when we're 4 down, we're a 4-0 box. Go ahead and run at it if you want, because our middle safety is the extra fitter. So, for us, the overhangs are, 5 and 6, or, for us in the 3-1 box, the overhangs are 5-6, the middle safety 7. So we still get 7 in the run game. When we were 4-2-5, we played a 4-1 box. The overhangs were 6 and 7, right? So that's the way we play football. So we give you a 4-1 box, but we have 7 guys immediately ready to be in the fit. 6 probably faster in the fit. 1 a little bit slower in the fit. The open B gap guy is a little bit slower. But, the good thing about tight front is our overhangs are always slow to the fit because there's no open gap. And then our middle safety runs the alley between the overhangs. Our Mike linebacker in 2x2 plugs the A gap away from the center, or away from the nose. I'm sorry. We lag the nose with a bigger kid. We move the nose with a smaller kid. The Mike plugs the open A gap based off what we're doing. The overhangs are slow to the party. They're kind of more hold than they are fold because there's nowhere for them to go on inside run. So it works out a little bit better versus RPO stuff. And then our middle safeties running the alley. So, for us in 7-on-7, when you look at it, you're going to get pissed and say, well, we would run the ball against that look all the time. Okay, great. Know that we're 3 high. Know that when you play us, the middle safety's in the fit. So I don't think the box is anywhere near as light as it looks, or as light as you might think it might be. So, that's where we're at right now. Second week in the summer program, 7-on-7 tomorrow. Those are the kinds of things that we're working on. Ton of indie work in the summer, in phase, out of phase, a ton of man press stuff, working on our footwork and our one hand, offhand jam stuff. But I think, the interesting thing is for everybody in their summer program, based on where you are and what your rules are, you should be dialing up your summer program accordingly. Your summer program needs to be exactly what you need it to be, exactly what you want it to be. So, I'd be interested for you guys that are still on here. I appreciate you joining me tonight. First time we've done it in a while. I know I was a little bit late because of thunderstorms, but where do you coach? What are your rules? What can you do in the summer? What are you doing in the summer outside of your lifts and your runs? What is your football work? What does your football work consist of? Philly, I think you're Virginia or somewhere up there, I think. So I don't know exactly what your rules are, but you other guys that are on here listening, you're on the live. Where are you coaching? What can you do in the summer? What are you allowed to do? Do you play in 7-on-7 stuff? Do you throw against other schools? Do you enter tournaments? Do you go to camps? Do you go to team camps? I'm always interested to learn from other people. What are they trying to do in the summer? What does their summer program consist of? I know what ours consists of, and I just kind of laid it out for you, mapped it out for you, but I'm always interested in seeing how other people do what they do. How do you progress your installs? What things are you working on? Are you still experimenting in the summer? Are there still things that you learn at clinics or, places or colleges that you visit that you're trying in the summer if you didn't have spring ball? Some people don't have spring ball. So anything you learn in a clinic, you don't really get the same opportunity we do to give it a dry run, give it a walkthrough. So, one of those deals where your summer needs to match who you are, what you do. Your 7-on-7 needs to match who you are, what you do. Your summer should involve a lot of technique, a lot of fundamentals, along with your lifting program. Our lifting program is top notch. Our guy does a phenomenal job. Our head coach does a phenomenal job. A lot of prehab stuff, a lot of neck work, a lot of rotational work, and a lot of flexibility work built into our program. Probably different maybe than some people, not as heavy with a lot of the lifts as some people may get in the summer if they feel like they're in a strength phase. But I feel like year round, we do a really good job. And, for us, like I said, it's week 2, graduated first week of June. Last week was the first week. This is now the second week. Again, a little bit tough to play a 7-on-7 tournament this early in, but we are coming off the back end of spring football, so we feel like we've got enough in offensively. Our coach can draw things and bring things with him that he can show kids in a huddle, so that's always beautiful. Defensively, our base structure is in place. We can handle empty. We can handle 3x1. We've got, two ways to play 3x1. We've got some of our man deals in. So I feel like we're in a pretty good place for the 7-on-7. So, long drive, long day, but I feel like it's worth it for our kids. I feel like there's value in it. So that is where we are with our program. Again, haven't been on live in a while. I know I jumped on a little bit late based on the thunderstorms, but I appreciate everybody that's here, everybody that sat down and listened, everybody that participates in the comments. I try to do these things to interact with people that are viewers. I try to do these things to get your opinion on some things because I do learn from other people. I also try to I do these so I want to figure out what everybody else wants. Do you want, you know, video, the same videos on a whiteboard? Do you want more videos, maybe of practice clips? Again, I have a YouTube site and a Patreon site. There's more on Patreon than there is on YouTube because Patreon's a subscription site. YouTube's kind of a free site, so you don't really give everything away. Um, Summer workouts are pretty good so far, Broccoli. I've only been there 2 days. I was in New York on a golf vacation for 10 days. So one of the other reasons I haven't put a video out on YouTube and I haven't been on YouTube live. But summer workouts going good. We've got a great turnout, got a great freshman class. Our numbers are better than they've been in the last 2, 3, 4 years of the school. So things are going really well right now. We'll see what happens with the 7-on-7 tomorrow. But again, I'm always looking for input. Where do you want to see the channel go? The channel's only here. Play Fast is only here because of the people that follow. So, different videos, maybe some technique, maybe some videos of us. Probably going to do a video at some time this summer of what we actually do with our summer stuff. And I know on my Patreon site, I actually put some clips of us, our DB Indie work on there. Again, I think you have to understand content creation is a big deal in the YouTube world, but YouTube is also a free platform. So you've got to be careful how much you give away on a free platform. PlayFast wouldn't be here without followers. I love YouTube. It's never going away. I've said this a million times. I started doing golf videos, but I'm still doing PlayFast football. It's not going away. But as a content creator with different platforms, you've got to kind of be careful with how much information you give out on each platform, if that makes sense for everybody. So, should have a YouTube video. Hopefully, I think Thursday I'll probably do one after the 7-on-7. Yeah, I could probably do some O-line stuff, some indie work, and stuff that we do with our O-line, stuff that I've done with our O-line before. Stuff that I would do if I was a gap scheme team, stuff that I would work on if I was a zone scheme team. So I can do that. So any suggestions you have, throw them out there. Again, sorry I got on late. Weather issues, thunderstorm issues, internet issues, but I appreciate you guys being here. Look for a video maybe on Thursday to come out on YouTube. I know it's been 3 weeks or so since I've done one. You guys that have been to the Zoom clinics that we're doing, I will pick those up again a week from Thursday. Trying to schedule a speaker for a week from Thursday, which is June 29th, I believe. Schedule got screwed up because I went to New York, so I've had to kind of push things back a little bit. But I plan on doing at least 4 more clinics on Zoom before the season starts. So if you didn't know anything about that, I've done 4 or 5 of them already. They're all on my YouTube page. So anybody that's interested, I charge $10 for each clinic. All you got to do is email me. It's Venmo, Cash App, PayPal. I have all the links private, unlisted on my YouTube channel. We have a screen clinic one. We have a tight 3 high one. We have a Noma zone one. We have an offensive line one. We have a practice drills one from Sean McIntyre from Creekside. So I've got 5 clinics that I've done on Zoom that are all on my YouTube site. If you're interested in those, hit me up. You can email me sting8740@gmail.com. Again, charge $10 for them. Not trying to break the bank by any means, but at the same time, trying to work a side hustle on top of all the YouTube stuff that I'm doing. I've mentioned this in the past. When you look at some of the big timers on YouTube that are in the golf world or that are in the music review world, those are the people that have hundreds of thousands of subscribers. They can do everything they want on YouTube. They're going to make a killing. Some of them do it full time, obviously, YouTube for a living, Instagram for a living, Twitter for a living. For me, it's kind of a side hustle. YouTube is my side deal. But again, it's a different platform than other things. So I've got those clinics again: screen clinic, O line clinic, um, tight three high clinic, Noma zone clinic. Hit me up if you're interested. I've got Venmo, PayPal, Cash App, all the same shit everybody else has. So if you're interested in that, hit me up. Look for a video to come out Thursday. Appreciate you guys joining me tonight. Sorry I was late, Florida weather, but wanted to get out. Haven't seen a lot of you guys in a while. Philly, haven't talked in a while. You comment and you're here on everything we do. God bless you for everything that you do. But I appreciate you guys joining me tonight. See what happens at the 7-on-7 tomorrow. I hope your summer goes well. Hope everything install wise is going well. I hope you're healthy. Hope your family's healthy. Hope your team's healthy. And I hope all you guys are enjoying your summer or what's left of your summer. All right. So thanks for being here tonight, guys. Remember, you won't play well until you play fast. Love what you do for me. Love what you do for Play Fast. See you guys next time.